Hey, and welcome to Leo's Electronic Solutions. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Nvidia GeForce 8600 GT, a DirectX 10 level graphics card released in 2007 under the G84 chipset. My one in particular has 32 CUDA cores, 8 ROPs, 16 TMUs, has 512 megabytes of DDR3 VRAM, has a core clock of 540 MHz, memory at 400 MHz, and shader at 1188 MHz. I have this graphics card paired in my test system with an i7 3770 and 12 GB of DDR3 RAM. This should eliminate any bottlenecks and leaves all performance up to this measly little GPU. The first game on our list is Factorio, which, when zoomed in, runs at a near constant 50 to 60 frames per second. However, when zoomed out, you get around 30 to the high 20s, sometimes dips to the mid 20s. There's a little bit of stuttering, but once you zoom in a little bit, it's not too bad. This is also running at the maximum graphics settings at a resolution of 1440 by 900, which is the native resolution of my weird monitor. All up, Factorio, quite playable on the 8600 GT. On to the next one. The next game on our list is Simple Planes. We're running here at 1440 by 900 with a mixture of medium and low settings. We're getting around, on the ground, we're getting around 35 to 40 frames per second, depending on what way you're looking and how big of a plane you're flying. We are also running with no shadows. If I were to have the shadows on, the FPS would tank into the mid-20s. Up in the air, we're getting anywhere from 38 to 41 FPS. On to the next one. Car Mechanic Simulator 2018 is up next, running with 640 by 480 on everything at the lowest settings, with the smallest garage and no car. Most of the time it is hovering around 30 frames per second. Now this must be an 8000 series graphics card thing, because there are lighting issues going on. You can see on the garage door it should not look like that, it looks red. Not sure if you can see that on my monitor, because as I said in the last video, the viewing angles are terrible and the way I have my camera set up isn't the best. So games look a bit darker than what they do from my perspective. On to the next one. This might give the card a chance. Next game on our list is The Long Drive. We're getting anywhere from 30 to 40 frames per second at 640 by 480 with everything down at the lowest settings. When rendering in the garage and starting vehicle with all the items in there, it goes down to 26. You might be able to even get away with raising the settings ever so slightly, as the gameplay is relatively smooth when you're not rendering in too many things. Very smooth, no stuttering, no frame tearing. On to the next one. Look, I'm getting 1500 FPS! Stormworks is our next game, and apart from a whole lot of frame tearing and the fact that we are running at 640 by 480 on the absolute lowest settings in the middle of the ocean on a small train, I'm getting 29-30 frames per second. One other problem that I've noticed is that some of the objects, like the wheels of this steam engine, aren't loading in. Expect an average around 28. On to the next one. Street Legal Racing Redline now to give this graphics card a bit of a chance. We're running in 1440 by 900 with all the settings on medium. And in the garage here, we're getting over 115 frames per second. What a sight to behold. There's minimal stuttering, a little bit of frame tearing, but that's not game ruining. Let's go to the city and see how things perform there. In the city here, running at 1440 by 900 medium, we're getting anywhere from 60 to 100 frames per second, even sometimes going up into 130. Crashing makes the game stutter, but other than that there are no real stutters here, and this graphics card is perfect for a game like this. Not that it's a large feat running a game from 2003 on a graphics card like this that came out in 2007, but it works very well. Anyway, on to the next one. The next game on our list is My Summer Car, running at 640 by 480 on the absolute lowest settings possible. We're getting a mid-30s, sometimes hitting 40 FPS, sometimes dipping down We have half of the lights on in the house, roughly. The more lights you'll have on, of course, the lower the frame rate will go. We are running on the absolute minimum settings that this game can run in. Sorry for the darkness. Yeah, not too bad, and there's not really that much frame tearing, if any at all, and input lag pretty much non-existent. I think this is playable at this frame rate. In the daytime with lights off, I'm getting 40 FPS, even rendering in the car with getting, yeah, about 40 FPS. I think this is perfectly playable for a game like this. You don't need a very high FPS to play this. I could happily build the car playing like this, albeit it would be a little annoying with the resolution that you have to use. But the frame rate and frame times are not too bad. On to the next one. Now for another older title, Farming Simulator 2011, running in 1440 by 900, settings set to the preset of high, with anti-aliasing and anisotropic filtering on 2 and 2 respectively. We're getting anywhere from the upper 40s to all the way up to 60 frames per second here, which is very playable. It runs very smooth. This card is perfect for playing simpler, older games such as Farming Simulator 2011. On to the next one. And last but not least, to round out our gaming benchmarks, we have Farming Simulator 15 running in 1440 by 900 with the settings at low. We're getting 40 frames per second. We're rendering in all this wheat here. We're getting 30, dips into the high 20s. Bit of stuttering when you're looking at the wheat, but when you're just rendering in like a farmyard or something and not too much vegetation, then you can get 40 to even 50 frames per second sometimes if you're looking in the right direction, or if you're looking up towards the sky, you can get 60 and hit the frame rate limiter. All up, this is playable. Additionally, while benchmarking all of these games, the graphics card hasn't gone above 60 degrees. Now, YouTube playback works fine. We're running a 1080p YouTube video, it's one of mine, simpler video, and we're getting no frame rate loss, no nothing like that. It is working just fine. I can skip around in the video. We have to wait a little bit for the graphics card to catch up, but it is running okay. And for general usage, it is just fine, like rendering a video while dragging it around, and you can probably render 2 videos at the same time without too many issues, and this is without using any plugins on YouTube. So this is raw experience. It works quite well. Would I recommend this graphics card? Well, if you were to get this card for very, very cheaply, then it is perfect for a retro gaming system. It'd pair very well with a Core 2 Duo or a lower end Core 2 Quad. This card, it can run lots of older games, but it works fine as a display adapter if you just want 2 monitors, although it does not have a HDMI output, at least my variant of the card does not. This has been Leo's Electronic Solutions. Goodbye.